All right. Welcome back to Torque Talks. It has been a minute since we have been releasing these, but we're going to get going again and get going strong. So today I believe we're on episode 18. I might have to make some edits later, but we're going to go with episode 18. I have with me Mr. Kyle Wayne Cordova.
Yo, yo.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, first off, like, where are you from? What have you been up to recently?
Okay, where I'm from. I'm from Sacramento, California. That's where I grew up. I always say Sacramento because that's where that was where I grew up 10 to 19. So that's where I got most of my
the formative
value,
years.
like learning about life and stuff. So grew up in Sacramento. I moved to LA when I was 19 years old, and now I'm 26 now, and I've been in LA ever since, pursuing tricking work in the entertainment business.
Nice. And you've done a lot in the entertainment business recently, right? Like, you've been on tour
been
with
picking
Bieber
up, yeah.
VMAs a couple of times.
Yeah,
What else?
multiple VMAs now, like a lot of award shows. I would have to look at my resume, but for the most part, I did most of the award shows, like the AMAs, the VMAs, billboards, like all that sort of stuff. Done film and television. Like, I doubled for Kenny Wormald in Footloose. So when he's upside down doing any tricks, that's me. There's like a moment where he goes swipe, touchdown, raise, gainer, scissor, and you know it's definitely not him. You know? But I did that. I did a Chinese action movie in China in 2015, which is really cool, where I doubled the lead actor. I did like his tricks because they wanted like more tricking sequences in like the fight scenes.
Yeah.
So like I did that, and that was really fun. That was really cool. But yeah, I've done like a bunch of stuff for film, television, and like live shows. But probably the Purpose Tour is probably the biggest and like my favorite job that I've ever done in the entertainment business.
Yeah. Now, like, how did you get into all of that and like get into that industry and start getting those jobs? Like if somebody else wanted to get into that industry, like, how should they approach that?
Okay, so I got into this because I moved to LA because I had some buddies out there already, Jeremy, Danny, and Anise, some of my good friends that I grew up training with. They were already out there doing that, and I was like, oh, like, how are you guys doing this, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, we have an agency to like go to auditions and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I moved to LA. I got my first job through Guy De Silva because he is like close with Chris Brown, and we did a Chris Brown music video, and that was like my first job I ever did. I went down, we did that, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, we're like fighting Chris Brown, blah, blah, blah. I was like 19. I was like, this is insane. Like, I was tripping. And then I ended up getting an agency, and I started going on auditions, and that's how I got like Footloose, which was like my first like big job when I was 19. I got Footloose. It was like 3 weeks, and it was like, roughly like what was it? After probably like $2,500-$2,600 a week for like 3 weeks, and like 19, like I was tripping.
Right.
And I was like, what? I was like, oh my goodness, like, and yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then from there, I just started auditioning more and more, trying to book more and more jobs, and then eventually throughout the years, more of my jobs came through direct booking than auditions, because I've already worked with a lot of choreographers and I've worked with a lot of creative directors where in their mind, they envision, oh, we want some tricking element or something here. And they think, oh, we've worked with Kyle plenty of times. He always delivers. He's never late. Like, the professionalism's there, no attitudes, no nothing, gets the job done. So it's like they're going to recall those people, because they know you can get it done. So that's why, like,
a lot of networking.
Yeah, like a lot of networking, but also like anytime you do a job, like always you just got to make sure you do the best that you can and that you're really like a nice and just a good person.
Right.
Like in LA, the crazy thing is like if you're like a really like shitty person, I don't know if I can say that.
Okay. Talk however you want
cool.
to talk.
Okay. Like, yeah, no, like if you're like a really shitty person, like people could tell, it's like the vibe is just, what I'm saying? You just want to be like a good person, you don't have to overdo anything, just be nice, respectful, and just get done what you got to get done, the task at hand.
Gotcha. Yeah, dude, that's definitely like a factor is, how are you portraying yourself when you're on set and like working with these people? Because like, even if you're the best talent, like if you're a pain in the ass to work with, you're probably not going to get that call back.
Yo, serious. That's like crucial. That's like a real thing. Like, I've literally seen people not get the job because of the fact that maybe that choreographer didn't want to work with them for like 3 months on that 3-month job, and it's like, damn, like, you're kind of ruining it for yourself. The skill's there, but it's also not about skill in the working world. It's about like, if you're doing a long job, like especially tour, like that was a year and a half, like Nick is definitely going to pick people that are obviously talented. He's not going to pick no one that's like, below a certain thing, but he's also going to pick people that he feels like he can be with for that like period of time.
Right.
Know?
And I mean, when you're going on tour with something like that, like you're working with those guys like every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Traveling with them and like there's no getting away.
Yeah.
So
no. Yeah. You're always going to be together. Yeah. Always.
Yeah, so you've been doing a lot of the entertainment industry stuff, but you said you wanted to start getting into something else. What is that? Like, what else are you trying to do?
Oh, okay. So this year specifically, I want to transition more into photography. I started shooting in 2010. Yeah, okay, that's when I got like my first DSLR and I started shooting because before then I had like a little Sony Cybershot back in high school.
Right.
'Cause my friend Bobby had a DSLR and he was shooting and like he was like the dude like in school that had the dope photos. Like,
right.
Like, oh, Bobby got the cool photos, you know? And like that's like one of my best friends growing up. And I was like, damn, Bobby's so sick at taking photos. I was like, I want to take photos too. I was like, he's so good. And then I ended up getting a camera, a T2i on a not Black Friday, a Cyber Monday, the first year I moved to LA. Because I did Footloose, I got a decent amount of money, and I was like, I was young, I wasted a bunch of my money, but I was like, the one thing that I actually invested in that was good was my first camera. Like, I got a camera on Cyber Monday. It was like a T2i thing with like a cleaning pack and like a lens and like a little mini tripod or something, one of those little bundles. And then, I just started shooting from then. And then 2014, 2015, I got a little more serious. I sold my T2i. I bought a 5D Mark III. And then I just started like, I just started like picking up with like shooting. Like I was like, I want to shoot these type of photos. I want to shoot these. Like, I was like, can I do this? I would like test myself. Like, can I make these type of photos? I see like photographers or graphic artists or something post a certain style of like photo. I'm like, all right, I want to figure out how to do that. I'm going to do that. Like when I first seen like those plotographs, like the moving photos.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, boom. I was like, what is that? I'm going to look it up right now. And I looked it up. I was like, plotograph. Okay, boom. Then I downloaded it and then I started like playing with it, But yeah, photography is like definitely a big thing for me. I like tricking and photography is like probably my two favorite things. Yeah, probably my two favorite things. I love making beats too, but just I feel like where I used to make music more a while back, that was now replaced with like photography. That same energy I felt like when I wanted to make music is now I'm like, I want to go shoot. It's like my thing,
yeah, just sort of transitioning into a different creative outlet.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like all of the things that you've dabbled in are very much like creative outlets and like places where you really have to sort of sit down and make something out of nothing. And so like what draws you to those sorts of activities? Like what is it about tricking or photography or making beats that really like makes you want to come back to it? Because like that shit's hard. All of this stuff is hard to like do really well.
Oh, that is hard. That's a hard question too. I think probably if I had to just narrow it down to like a broad general thing, would probably just be freedom. Like just the word freedom, because it's like that explains a lot. Because like when I trick, I feel free. When I'm shooting, I feel free. Like I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. No matter what, like when I'm on the floor, like I'm gonna do the combo I want to do. I'm gonna do the trick I want to do. If I have my camera and I'm out, like I'm gonna point the camera in this certain direction and take it this certain way because that's how I want to do it, and I have the ability to do it however I want.
Right.
You have the ability to trick however you want. Like, and that's something that always drew me into like I feel like creative things like that where you could bring something from nothing. Because when it's coming from nothing, like there's no regulation, it's like you get to
there's no parameters.
Yeah,
you just sort of get to create whatever it is and just express yourself through that medium.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably my favorite thing about like those sort of creative outlets where it comes from like a nothing sort of thing and builds up.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't agree more. So now with your photography, like what were some of the main things? I know you talked a little bit about how you would just sort of see something and be like, oh, I want to figure out how to make that or like how someone did that. But like, what were some of your main influences and like maybe specific photographers or like, I don't know, like for me, back when I was in high school and I was shooting photography a lot, tricking was my main inspiration for my photography. So like a lot of the stuff that I would do was like incorporating tricking with landscape photography and sort of trying to blend the two of those. So like for you, where does that come from? And like most of your like wanting to go out and shoot, like what kind of photos do you want to create?
So I feel like I have like a different set of people for different things. Like I have like certain photographers that I like that just take photos that like don't edit that much. It's more of like about the photo. Then I have people that I follow that are like graphic designers that like almost the whole photo's fake, you know, from zero to like the image. You know, you look at it, you almost can't tell. Like you can't tell, but the whole thing's created. But yeah, for certain aspects of shooting, I like certain people. But some of my favorites are like guys like Marcus Hyde. He does a lot of high fashion work, and like his photos are fire. And I followed him for a while. I actually did a workshop with him before.
Nice.
And it was really good. I learned a lot. Marcus Hyde for that sort of stuff. Some people I like, Cole Younger, Brian Willett. Those are two guys that like I looked up to, and I didn't meet them until I went on tour, and I met up with Brian when I was in Chicago because I was traveling, and every city I went to, I'd like DM like photographers I'd find. And I'd be like, yo, like I want to go around your city, like let's go shoot, like show me the spots, you know. I was like, I want to go adventure, you know. And like when I was in Chicago, I messaged there's a lot of photographers in Chicago. I messaged like, I don't know, maybe like 9 of them, like 8 or 9 on Instagram. I just DM'd them, and Brian was like the one who had like the most following, and I was like, all right, I'll just message him and see if he hits me back. He was actually the only one who hit me back out of everyone. I messaged a bunch of people who had like 10K, 15K, some. I messaged Brian, he had like 90 something. I thought like, okay, this is like a long shot, and then he just hit me back right away. I was like, yeah, like let's go shoot. Like I was like, all right, I'm coming down to the city. He's like, all right, I could meet you at this building, blah blah blah. Met up, and then he took me around to all the super cool spots. Like he took me to this parking garage where a bunch of Chicago shots have been taken, like from a bunch of different photographers. And in the garage, like there's it's not like a pillar, it's like on the wall, it's like a concrete wall, and there's like windows that are broken out. There's like these like kind of like pillar things, they're like in an X form, like in between them. And on one of them, I like looked and I seen all these signatures, and he's like, oh, do you want to sign this? He's like, this is like the legendary spot. And like I was seeing all these dudes' names that like I like hella like on Instagram and looked up to. I was like, oh, this dude is here. This dude is here. What? It's like, oh hell yeah! I got out my Sharpie. I was like, shot by Kyle, you know. It was super cool. So I met Brian, and then I ended up meeting this other guy I look up to, Cole Younger, through Brian actually. And now it's funny because like me and Cole are like really cool friends, and we like kick it and like shoot stuff now. And it's funny because like the year before I met him, I was like messaging him on Instagram like, oh bro, like if you ever want to shoot some tricking stuff, like I'd love to like, you know, trick for you, like we could get some shots. I love the way you shoot, blah blah blah. And then literally like a year later, like now we're like kicking it, like doing stuff. It's like it's crazy. But yeah, Cole, Brian, Marcus, and then in the graphic designer realm, there's like a bunch of people that I like. But like my new favorite is this dude Mad Dog Jones, and he doesn't have even that crazy of a following yet. Like it's still like under 20K, but this dude is gonna blow up. Like next time you're bored, go on Instagram, type in mad.dog.jones. He's sick. Like he draws his stuff from scratch, and then he colors it in, and it just looks insane. Like,
nice. Well, I'll definitely have to check that out.
After this, I'm gonna show you some Mad Dog Jones. Joey's tight.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of what you did was just reaching out to people that you looked up to, and you're like, yo, this guy's good at this. Let me ask him some questions. Yeah. And maybe we can go out and we can like shoot together a little bit. And you probably did a lot of that with your tricking too, like finding the people that were better than you and reaching out to them.
Yeah. So I feel like I was always like, especially my whole tricking like career, low key, or just tricking in general. I always felt like I was like the bottom of the barrel because it's like I grew up training with like, you know, Anise, Danny, Steve Terrata, Matt Emig, Rudy, like all these fools were like the elite, and I was like the one like the homie that's like, all right, I gotta hold it down, blah blah blah. Right. And I feel like that's what also influenced like my style a lot too, because like back in the day I was like, all right, well, Anise got the crazy twist, like Danny's kicks are crazy. I was like, Rudy got some crazy like tricks and like variations and stuff, and I was like, all right, I just want to do like my own thing. Like I wanted to be like separate from like everyone that I kind of like grew up training with,
right?
You know, so. But yeah, definitely like it's pretty similar. Like we go to like the Bay Area. That's how I first like met Loop Kicks and stuff. Like when I went to the first Loop Kicks camp 2004, 2005, like it was along those same sort of lines where I was like, oh, like this is a community of people that like all do this stuff. These guys are sick. I was like, I want to meet them, you know. And then I was like, boom, I showed up at camp, you know, first camp, second camp, and then became friends. And then
so you were at the actual first Loop Kicks camp.
I think 2004 is if that was the first one, then I did 04 and 05. Those are my first two gatherings.
So like, OG.
Yeah.
So how long have you been training? Like when did you start tricking?
I started tricking in 2003.
2003. 2003.
I went to compete nationals 2003 because my karate instructor took us to like my first national tournament. You know, because I just did like the craziest thing I seen up until that point was like my instructor do like a 540 or like a pop 7. You know, and I was like, oh, like that's crazy. Blah blah. Then I went to compete 2003. And I see like Rudy, Sammy, Matt Emick, Anthony Atkins, Daniel Sterling, you know, all these people going off. Like, what is this? I like told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I want to do this. You know, like, I was like, wherever I got to go, I was like, I want to do this. And then I ended up finding this place called J. Phillips, which is a karate school in Sacramento. And Anthony Atkins actually moved to Sacramento and was teaching at this karate school. And I knew Anthony because I watched these Black and Blue videos. There's like an old martial arts production company, Black and Blue Productions, and they'd put out all these tutorial videos. And Anthony Atkins had this like Extreme Kicking Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I remember I seen him, and then I found out that he was in Sacramento, and I was like, oh, what? And like, so I went down to this camp at J. Phillips, ended up meeting Anthony and like Matt and Rudy. That's how I first met like a bunch of people. And then from there, like, I started training with Anthony a lot more because like he actually needed a place to stay. So he actually rented out a room in our house where I lived. It was like my brother's room and my room. I ended up just leaving my room. Me and my brother split the room, and he rented out that room. He got like a super good deal from my mom, and I just got like privates from him. So like that was like the exchange.
So funny.
Yeah. So it was like I was just training with this dude all the time, and like he's like the first person who shaped my whole mentality, like about how I think about tricking and like the thought process behind it. Like I learned almost all that from Anthony, like for sure. Like
nice. But so you were training for like almost 12 years before you got your first real gigs and like really started to gain some traction with doing stuff with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you had seriously put your time in and like understood what you were getting at.
Yeah. Before I even got my first like tricking job in 2010, this was tricking since 2003. I feel like 2003 is when I saw it and I started trying to learn things like 540, cheat 7, like cheat gainer. But 2004 when I started competing on NASCA was when I was it was like, okay, all these other kids in this division are doing these crazy things. Like I was like, I got to do it too, you know, if I'm trying to hang, like
right.
So then I started training harder. So like 2004 to like 2010 was like probably like when I was training and like I loved it, but like once I moved to LA and I started training at White Lotus, that was when I started going like way crazier. Like when I got to White Lotus and I actually got a wrist. Honestly, this Tiger Paw, this wrist brace that I use, if anyone has wrist problems, get a Tiger Paw. I'm telling you right now, it'll be the best $20 you've ever spent. Because I used to have to trick on my fist. 2006 to 2010, I tricked on my fist. Touchdown raise, everything, bro. Like I'm at like.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing you do stuff like that. It was so wild.
Then I went to White Lotus and there's this gymnast. Blanking on his name, but he seen me like tricking on my fist, and he's like, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Oh, I have a hurt wrist, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Here, try this wrist brace." And I put it on, and I went to do a scoot with my hand open because I haven't scooted like that in a long time, and it didn't hurt. And I was like, "Oh shit!" I went touchdown raise, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "I'm back."
I'm back.
Yeah. So then I bought like 3 of those, like different color ones, just to have, and like I started just going hard. I was like, once I got my hand back, I was like, "Yo, I can throw my TD raise again," because I used to have to baby it because it was always a 50-50, like if it was going to like roll or not, you know? So once I got the confidence back to start just chucking things, like that was when I started like picking up more.
Which that's just insane, period, that you train touchdown rise with a fist and like you got it to the point where your wrist was strong enough to like do that. Like
my first touchdown raise double cork was on my fist. Hood style.
That's so wild, man. That is so wild. So so let's go back and talk about like how you've seen tricking change over the course of like since you came into it, especially because like I think you're the person who's been training the longest that's been on Torque Talks. I think the next closest might be like Rudy or. Yeah, it might be Rudy, like 2007, 2008 time.
Yeah.
So like how have you seen it change since 2003?
Probably the craziest change by far is the new just foundation of what like is possible right off the gate. Like if you come into tricking right now, you know, and you watch all the crazy samplers of people doing all these moves, there's like hundreds and hundreds of different moves, thousands of moves, you know, like thousands. I feel like when I first started tricking, like there was literally not that many moves.
Like
it
six.
was like
There's like six different things that you could do.
There was like not that many moves, which was like really cool because back in that time, which I feel like the only thing I feel like which is a little different back then than now is back then with that limited amount of things, the main goal for a lot of people was to try to create their own movements. You know, that was like the big thing back in the day. Like when I first started tricking, like it was like, okay, you did that. That's cool. But I'm going to go figure out my own thing over in this corner.
Yeah.
And then when I'm ready, I'm going to come out and show you real quick. You know, like it was like that. So like everyone always tried to push their own thing. Because I feel like we all, in the beginning, felt like it was like a super, like almost like a video game in real life.
Right.
You know, like it's like we all were like our own like characters and everyone wanted their own like special moves, you know? And like.
And you just had like the core set. Nobody had unlocked the special variation abilities or anything.
Exactly. So like. I feel like that was what was different. Whereas now there's so many things. Like it's not that people don't get as creative because I've seen a lot of creative stuff this weekend, which was super sick. But I feel like it's easier to get caught up just trying to learn a bunch of things that are already there because there's so much. You know, there's so much. It's not like you have to reach out to get more things because there's so much, which is awesome. But we also got to remember there's so much more to do. Like there's no limit really to like what you can do. And like there's so many things that still haven't been done that are still like simple in certain ways, you know,
right.
Like and like the physicality of it's not that crazy, but it's just hasn't necessarily been like thought of.
Right, like how the chant recently came into like everyone started doing it and like
things like that. Like who would have thought that was like, that was a thing, you know? And all of a sudden someone did it. And it's like boom, you know?
Yeah, that is so crazy. So now with that and like with all of these different moves, like how do you think it affects like the way that people train now versus when they first came into it maybe like 10 years ago? You know, because back then when there was only, you know, certain moves that people knew about and like there's a lot of like pioneering happening, like how do you feel like people are approaching it now instead of like with that pioneering aspect and that like I'm just going to make some weird stuff?
I feel like, it's like you definitely have the people that stand out that definitely want to pioneer their stuff. And I feel like you can just see that like in their movement. You know, it's like, I don't even have to say any certain names, probably just people already coming up into your mind when I say that.
Yeah, I've got a few.
You know, yeah. So it's like, you can just read it in people's movement. And there's totally nothing wrong if you don't want to pioneer anything. You could totally come into tricking and just do things that you've seen before that you just love because it feels great.
Right.
You know, like you could literally do whatever you want. And like, that's one of the ultimate things that like, I think is super cool about tricking is like you can do whatever you want, you know, straight up. Like if you literally want to go to the gym and do like mad 540 kicks over and over again, and that's your thing for some reason, you just love 540.
Yeah.
You don't even want to snap hoop for some reason, you just love 540.
Right.
Dope. You know, do it. Like if that makes you feel good, do it. You know, why not?
Definitely. And that's definitely like a mentality that I think that tricking is really good at sharing with everyone is like, hey, you don't have to do what everyone else is doing and like you just be a tricker as long as you're just supporting others in the community and just being a positive, you know, influence, then like welcome, you know, and like that's a really awesome thing, especially for people who are just starting out and, you know, they're sort of like afraid to go out on the floor and like afraid to throw things in front of people because they're gonna get judged.
I get on people at Jam about that. Yeah, everybody at Jam. Yeah, that's like one thing that when I was talking to Charlie the other day about it, I was like, the one thing that I love about Jam when we train is like we want everybody to train. So it's like if you're in the area of the floor and we're like training and you're not training, somebody's gonna get you to like get up and do something. You know, like.
Like, yo, you got to try this.
He's like, nah, like you guys are doing all this stuff, and I'm just trying to like work my back tuck. And I'm like, okay, like,
let's work back tucks.
Yeah, we all been there, you know. Like nobody just came out of the womb back tucking,
right?
Know? Everyone had to figure it out. Everyone went through that struggle, and it's like we're not here to be like, oh, you did the craziest trick. It's more like, yo, you just broke a barrier, and we watched you break that barrier, and we all know how hard that is. You know, like that's the beauty of like training and like. Why I always tell everyone, like, I don't care what you're doing, like, just do it. Like, come out to the floor and just do it. Like, I want to see you, like, work hard and, like, show the passion and commitment.
Right.
Like, that's what everyone
and
respects.
The fun that you're having, like, while you're doing it and, like, putting yourself on the line.
Yeah,
and, like,
Don't be like, ooh, nah, just go out there and just do it. Like, that's the best way. Like, For sure.
Definitely.
That's all the best sessions. Like, that's when the best sessions happen.
Right, and when people are just really pushing past those barriers, and like that's one of the great things about gatherings is like over the last couple of days, like you just see so many people, they're like doing stuff that's outside of their realm of capability right now, and it's like McCoy,
yeah.
So dude, that guy's killing it, but like. He just turned 16 and he's like stomping his triple full now after like he was struggling with it on the first night of DMG.
Yeah.
And near the end, he's just landing it when he wants to.
Yeah. In the end of the battle, like,
Yeah, dude. And it's like that kind of camaraderie and like seeing everyone rush the floor after someone lands something or like,
and it's like
interrupting the battle to rush him because it's like, dude, you just did that for the first time. Like,
and it's like the same. And what I love too is like the same excitement is like when he did that triple. It was like the same excitement as when that one kid did the tornado hook cartwheel full. Right. It was like the whole weekend we watched him learn cartwheel front.
Right.
Went from nothing. The cartwheel front, just learned it. Then he goes combo, cartwheel front. Okay, comboed it. Then he learned cartwheel full the next day. We're like, oh, okay, he learned cartwheel full. And then he comboed the cartwheel full. And it was like watching that progression was sick.
Right.
You know, like it's just a tornado hook cartwheel full.
It's the same progression as that triple full progression.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like, I probably did tornado hook cartwheel full in like 2004. Like it's not that that's what it is. It's that like I watched you like push yourself.
Right.
That's what's impressive, Like I feel like that's what everyone just got to be about. Like don't even worry about what you're trying to do. Just push yourself to the next level. Don't even worry about anyone else, Like, just do your own thing.
Definitely. And I definitely have noticed that that's the mentality that the best trickers have. And, like, I've been really blessed with being able to travel a lot and go to a lot of events and gatherings and meet a lot of people like yourself and a lot of really talented trickers and sit down with them in talks like this. And constantly that's what they tell me is, like, just that mentality of, like, everyone is at the same sort of, not level exactly, but it's like when you break a new barrier, that's the same as anybody else breaking a new barrier. Mm-hmm. And like recognizing that like that was a powerful moment for you, even though it was just, your first cartwheel back tuck or whatever it was, it's like, I remember that moment of that barrier being just overwhelming to me, and it's just this huge stair step.
Yeah.
And, then when you break it down, you look back and you're like, oh, that was it? Like, that was nothing. And you can, keep going. And I definitely see more of the people who are extremely successful with tricking. They take and apply these concepts back to their lives and their other things, like you have with your photography and your beat making. And, that's why I think that, tricking needs to be spread so much is because it's just this toolkit that you can just use whenever.
Yeah.
And it's awesome just constantly talking to different people and hearing the same thing echoed back to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's really inspiring. And I hope it's inspiring to the people, who are watching this. And hopefully they can come out to some of the events that, people like you are at and actually pick your brain. And
yeah. I love chopping it up. I love talking. I'm a talker.
Yeah. So there's just one more question I want to ask you before we wrap this up, and that is, if all trickers had the exact same skill level, so that could be anything you want. It could be like everyone's the best, like they're as good as Johan and can land at anything, or like they're just your exact
like
skill
all their
level.
Powers came together.
Yeah. If everyone was the exact same level, what would make you like be set aside? Like what would set you apart from the crowd with your tricks? And it doesn't have to be like a specific movement. It could be maybe like something that you do within tricking, or like get creative with this answer.
I feel like for me, if everybody was at the same level and we all could do the same moves, it's like if like all the moves were the same and everyone could do the same thing. I think where I would differentiate myself from other people is the way that I would put my combos together. I like to put my my pieces to my puzzle like in a certain way, and I feel like that's what also defines like a lot of like trickers that have been around for a while. It's like they have like a certain like style, obviously, in how they move, but their choices, choice is a huge thing. I feel like in developing like combos and structure for like combos and stuff like that, it's like choice is like a huge thing, and that's what literally makes different people, I feel like, is those different choices that they take. Like,
Right.
okay, I landed on my right foot, so I think I want to do this, whereas someone else might think, okay, from there, I would rather do this instead. You know? And it's like those choices is what differentiates everybody. And I feel like my choice would be what would separate me from like other people.
Gotcha. Just like putting them together in ways that other people would be like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, you can. You just have to break everything.
Do this. Yeah, yeah.
You just got to change some stuff
exactly.
and it'll work.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's really awesome.
Choice. Choose your combos wisely.
All right. So before we wrap it up, is there anything you want to, like, any advice that you want to give to new trickers or people who are just sort of coming into the sport and they're new to what tricking actually is?
New trickers, I'm going to tell you right now, the one piece of advice that would be the best thing that you ever follow is just train really hard. Like, there's no way you're going to train really hard and be garbage. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, there's no way any of the top people that are, like, the top in tricking, like, got there because they were just chilling. You know? Like, that never happened. Like, when I was, like, peaking at, like, probably, like, my most prime of tricking, like, 2014, 2015 for me was probably when I was, like, doing my craziest stuff. Like, everything was super smooth and efficient. I was going to the gym, like, 4 to 6 days a week, sometimes 2 sessions a day. You know, and like
just putting the time in.
I could feel the difference. You know, now I don't train like that, and so when I go in session, like I could feel it. My body doesn't move the same way I moved as when I was going all the time. So like, new people, just rep, just drill, because literally it'll only make you better. Like, you know, that's probably what I'd say.
I think that's perfect advice. So now, if people want to keep up with you on social media, where's your
social media
handles, your Instagram, all that?
My main Instagram is where I'm going to be where I post most of like my life stuff about myself. Like, is Kyle W Cordova. My photography one is Shot by Kyle. I have a website too, shotbykyle.com, but you can see most of the stuff on Instagram. So just follow Shot by Kyle. And then, mostly Instagram. Like, I'm on Facebook too, but I feel like I don't use Facebook as often anymore. And I rarely use Facebook Messenger. I have people message me on Facebook all the time, and I'll get it like months later because I rarely use it. Just DM me. DM me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram every day. So if you message me on Instagram, I'm there. Like,
perfect. Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. As always, thanks for watching, and hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we will see you next week.
Tight.